This is my final product for my FMP where I've chosen to do a music magazine. I will be going through my original intentions, what changed, and the challenges I faced in my overall final product. First, I will be going through my initial idea. My initial idea of my magazine when I was creating my proposal was that I wanted to create a magazine about music students to give them a platform to show off what they created, as well as being about the underground rap scene. I then changed this concept to my magazine being about rap music, fashion, and culture, but keeping the idea of giving up-and-coming artists a platform, as all of the interviewees in my magazine are rising musicians. With my masthead, I always wanted to call it SWAGMAG, as I came up with that in the magazine unit this year, but I decided to save it for my FMP. However, originally I wanted my masthead to have this as the font as seen in the image next to my mood board, which is from an album by Playboi Carti called I Am Music, which I got from a website where it had this font for free. I thought it looked really appealing, especially since my magazine is a rap-based music magazine, and the font is from a popular rap album. But I came to realize that I had to be professional and unique with my magazine, so I changed the masthead font to Arial Black, which is an Adobe font, and I actually think it's better in the end, as my masthead appears to be bold and professional in my opinion, along with the opinions of peers from a feedback survey I did about my front cover rough draft. This is the mood board that I created when I had my initial idea. I wanted my magazine's house style to be a 2000s and 2010s underground rap style to it. In the end, I think my final magazine has its own vibe and style to it, as I made the house style to be minimal with bold and colorful imagery, which I'm very happy with, as it looks very appealing and I like it more than it has its own style. At the start of FMP, I wanted to get 4 music students from the college and form them into a group, and then do a group photo shoot as seen here in this rough draft I made. These were the interview questions I came up with at the start of FMP when I wanted to get 4 students together as a group. The content I was originally going to write about with them is their production work, behind the scenes of music production, the underground rap scene, social media affecting music, and 2026 being the new 2016, since that was a hot topic at the beginning of this year, as I did Vox Pops asking people about 2026 being the new 2016, as well as Vox Pops about social media affecting the music industry. It was when I first met all my interviewees I decided to change the whole idea and do them separately, since they all had different styles. I also thought that having more diversity in my magazine is a lot better, especially since it's a music magazine, living up for self-expression and creativity. 2 of the music students wanted to be together in the magazine, so I decided to write their article on music production, so I changed all their interview questions specifically about producing and making music. The other 2 interviewees were separate, and I only asked questions about themselves and their music. One of those students is an actual underground rapper that is currently on the rise to becoming known on SoundCloud, Spotify, and social media, so I dedicated his questions about himself and the thriving scene of underground rap, and he is the one that is on my front cover. I wanted to put him as the cover because our interview was the longest out of all of them, and I think since he is actually part of the underground scene, he should be the main subject in my magazine. I enjoyed the interview process, but one thing I could have done better was ask more questions and dive in deeper in their answers during all the interviews, which I will do in future interviews. The articles I ended up writing about was music student work and themselves, music production, and the underground rap scene. A challenge I faced when making my magazine was that at first I wrote my articles in a size 16 font, and I got feedback from one of my teachers saying that it should be a size 10, since real magazines use size 10 font for their articles. After I changed the font to size 10, it made my articles really small, and I had to write a lot more, which was a challenge since I found it hard to write articles. But this challenge made me reread what I wrote, as well as add more about the students in their double-page spread, which made me improve with my creative writing and vocabulary as I overcame that challenge with some good articles, and here's a few that I did are in the magazine. For the photo shoot, I was initially planning to do 1 outdoor and 1 indoor photo shoot in the TV studio with the 4 of them together, as I put this on my production schedule. Once I changed the idea and I went with doing each student separately, I wanted to do different settings with each student. 2 of them I did in a music studio, 1 of them outside in front of a brick wall, and the last one I did in front of a wall of graffiti outside. I didn't want to do a photo shoot in the TV studio because I thought that it wouldn't be authentic, since my magazine promotes authenticity with artists and music, which is why I chose to do the photo shoots in settings where it wouldn't be a blank background, as I wanted my photos to be eye-catching and vibrant. And originally, I wanted my photos to come out like these images here. In my research, I searched up on ChatGPT how to get images like these on my own, and I actually experimented with what ChatGPT told me to do in my research blog. I did like the results, but once I finally did my photo shoot, I wanted them to have a different style and vibe to each student, since they all had different styles about them. These are how my images came out, I changed the idea of dedicating the look of my photo shoot to those photos to just experimenting on Lightroom and Photoshop. I really like how these photos came out, even though they didn't turn out to be like the photos I was planning to initially. But I think they each are unique with different vibes about them, and I want my photos to be like that, because my magazine stands for creativity, self-expression, and diversity. Including diverse photos like these live up to my magazine standards, which is why I chose to experiment with different filters and adjustments like exposure, contrast on Photoshop and Lightroom, rather than following an editing process by ChatGPT, and I really like the results of all these photos. Now onto my final product. This is my final front cover. I really like how this came out because it's bold, professional, with colorful imagery. In the survey I created to gain feedback for the front cover, the positives about it was how bold it was, especially the masthead and the image. Originally, I wanted my front cover to be very minimal with only just the cover lines without the description, along with no puff or selling line at the bottom, because I was heavily inspired by Days magazine's front cover, as they are very minimal with how they design their front covers. The survey I came up with gave me feedback of adding those descriptions below the cover lines, and one of my teachers said that I have to market this magazine cover really well, since it's a new magazine to be released, which is why I added the selling line at the bottom and the puff on the right. I'm really happy with how my front cover is. I really like how I made the subject hover over the masthead, while the masthead is very bold and eye-catching, as that was one of my main goals when creating my cover, which was to make it as eye-catching and professional as possible, which I think I have definitely achieved. And these are my double-page spreadsheets. I really like all of the double-page spreadsheets I made. When I was making these, I always tried to make them as bold as possible, as I have a very minimal layout and typography here, which I chose to do. I made sure my imagery and my graphics were very bold so my magazine can stand out, which I have achieved through these results. I didn't face many challenges or obstacles when making my double-page spreadsheets because I knew how to work Lightroom, Photoshop, and InDesign because of the magazine unit this year. And I did all my work through my laptop, so I didn't have any complications with working at the school PCs. This is the back cover that I made. Overall, I really like how my magazine came out. I think it looks really professional, and overall, I designed it really well. Over time, when I was putting together my magazine, I asked peers and teachers for feedback on my magazine, and they've all said it's really good and professional, especially with my front cover, with it being bold and eye-catching, which I agree with. This was my final product for my FMP. Thank you for watching.